Welcome to Midday Live from the News Hub here at Adisawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie for to look at the top stories this afternoon. Members of Parliament reconvene to consider and approve African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Residents of Malam and adjoining communities heave a sigh of relief as work begins on 500-meter drainage system to address recurrent flooding. And on the foreign front this afternoon, French President Emmanuel Macron says he may have failed in efforts to persuade Donald Trump to retain an international nuclear deal with Iran. We've got the details of these stories for you here on Midday Live. This bulletin is streaming live all across the world on 3news.com and TV3 Ghana on Facebook. You could also watch us on DSTV channel 279. Let's go straight to Parliament this afternoon as members of the House have reconvened to a recall by the Speaker of Parliament. The MPs for today and tomorrow are expected to consider and approve the ratification of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Already, the minority are not really convinced about the recall. Some have argued that the matter to be considered does not need members to be recalled from their recess. And we're going to be bringing you more on that issue and going to Parliament as our correspondent Catherine Frimpoma is situated there at the moment to bring us more details on that issue. But let's turn to some other stories this afternoon as the Airport Police Command has vowed to investigate and arrest floating commercial drivers who have planned to attack the 24-hour towing services guards at the Kotoka International Airport. Now, this follows the arrest and detention of 17 taxi drivers by the airport towing guards. Let's now return to Parliament. I'm joined on the phone lines by Catherine Frimpoma. Hello, Catherine. Can you hear me? Hello, Catherine. Good afternoon. Can you hear me on the phone lines?
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Wa.
Great, Catherine. This is now you say the members of Parliament are saying that they do not need to be recalled from their recess to discuss the African Continental Free Trade Area. Have proceedings begun, and what are comments in the House so far?
Yes. Proceedings is yet to begin. We have been here, it was expected to start at 10, but we are here, the House is almost full, but the Speaker is yet to take his seat to steer the affairs of the meeting today. But we have an explanatory memorandum on the business statement for the emergency meeting, and that today what will happen here is that the House is going to present some papers on the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, as well as a report of the Joint Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs and Communicating on the Right to Information Bill. There will also be a report of the Committee on the same Legal and Parliamentary Affairs on the Witness Protection Bill, as well as the Legal Aid Commission Bill. There's also a report of the Joint Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism and Foreign Affairs on the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area. There will also be presentation and first reading of the Industrial Design Amendment Bill, and then there will be a motion for the House to adopt the report. So this trade and industry agreement is expected to be laid and taken through the processes and adopted possibly today. And so I am seeing the Minister for Trade and Industry, Alan Kodoche, in the House, as well as other ministers of state who are here to present. The Minister of Information is also expected to be here as the Right Information Bill would also be considered. And then tomorrow, the House would also adopt a motion for some of the bills that have been presented so far, and then the House would adjourn again timelines tomorrow because they have not officially resumed from the recess. So that is what we are expecting today. We are expecting the Speaker to walk in any moment for proceedings to begin formally.
Now, Catherine, the members of the minority said they're not really convinced about the recall. Have you had the opportunity to have an interaction with any of them or observe their body language ahead of the Speaker's arrival?
They are all here the minority leader Haruna Idrisi is here, as well as all the leaders of the fight. They are all here, as well as the minority members. They are even more than the majority members, but I can tell you that there is no sign of opposition here, as they all seem to be ready, waiting for the speaker. So we can only wait for the speaker to be in. I've seen the speaker's assistant bringing his documents, and so he should be walking in any moment now. And as you can hear in the background, the speaker is being ushered into the chamber to formally begin the proceedings, and then we would know whether or not the minority is going to take in proceedings.
Very well. Thank you, Catherine. So your same proceedings are about to begin, as we heard there. Catherine from Pomar giving us updates from Parliament. But let's return to our earlier story this afternoon, as the Airport Police Command has vowed to investigate and arrest floating commercial drivers who have planned to attack the 24-hour towing services guards at the Kotoka International Airport. Now, this follows the arrest and detention of 17 taxi drivers by the airport towing guards.
The taxi driver in question is said to have picked a passenger in front of the domestic terminal. His car was immediately clamped by the 24-hour towing services. The incident, which happened on Wednesday, infuriated the said taxi driver, who later came back and threatened to organize his colleagues to attack the company. When a news team arrived at the 24-hour service yard, 5 taxi cabs and about 7 private vehicles had been seized and parked in the yard. There were other broken vehicles that had been seized for some time now, but the owners have refused to go for them. Officials of the company, who would not speak on camera, denied the arrest of 17 vehicles as being alleged. There were visible signs of police presence. The district police commander at the airport police station, Chief Superintendent Leonard Abaka, said they are ready to avert any clashes between the supposed floating drivers and the airport towing guards.
So when he was arrested, he was brought to the office of the 24-hour services, and then he sat in front of the office and started calling a few of his friends who came and gathered. But there was no clashes, only for me to hear today that they are going to attack the 24-hour services and release 17 taxis that have been arrested. But as you can see here, we are in the yard of 24-hour services. How many taxis do you count here? We are going to follow up. I'm trying to get in touch with the driver, invite him to my office, listen to his concerns, and then we see how we move forward from there.
Officials of the company also indicated almost all the taxis that operate at the airport belong to a union, adding it is part of efforts to prevent criminal activities. Commercial towed vehicles to the yard are charged 250 Ghana cedis, with the private ones being charged 150 Ghana cedis.
In other news, wife of Vice President Samira Bawumia has observed that the fight against child trafficking can only be successful if it focused on the root causes and the perpetrators are made to face justice. Speaking at the launch of the Coalition on NGOs Against Child Trafficking in Accra, Samira Bawumia called for a holistic approach to the fight in order to achieve the desired result.
Article 5 of the 1992 Constitution guarantees the rights and human dignity of all persons. The Constitution also provides that no person shall be held in slavery or servitude, as well as in forced labor. Ghana in 2005 passed the Anti-Human Trafficking Act, Act 649, for the prevention, reduction and punishment of human trafficking. However, the implementation and enforcement of these laws have been left mainly in the hands of individuals and organizations.
The consequences of child trafficking are dreadful not only for a nation, but for the world at large. Let us remember that all of us must play our part, whether at the political level, cultural level, social, religious, or private institutional levels.
Formation of the Coalition of NGOs Against Child Trafficking, CNACT, with support from UNICEF, is therefore to help scale some barriers for better results.
UNICEF calls for our collective efforts to put the most vulnerable children and families, including those who are trafficked and those at risk of being trafficked, to be at the center of our joint programs.
Child trafficking is against our laws and contrary to the dignity of the child. We will support government in all the 4 P's of human trafficking, believing each to be of vital importance.
CNACT is to work in close collaboration with the Ghana Police Service and other relevant state security agencies for results.
This tier 2 that we have been on, and the US government is watching us. If we work together, we can move to a better place.
In launching the umbrella body, wife of the Vice President, Samira Baumia, bemoaned the continuous atrocities against children and called for a coordinated effort in fighting the canker.
I entreat you all to work assiduously together to achieve your goal of furthering the national effort to end child trafficking in Ghana. It's only in unity that you can realize your vision, where children can thrive, are protected, and are fully able to develop their potential.
The coalition of NGOs against child trafficking hopes to reduce cases of child trafficking and labor through active participation.
Now, founder and 2016 flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, has expressed disappointment over government's inability to ensure the election of MMDCEs within 24 months of taking office. Dr. Ndum cautioned further delays would derail the socio-economic development of the country.
The New Patriotic Party NPP pledged in its manifesto to oversee the direct election of Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives, MMDCEs, within 24 months of election into office. President Akufo-Addo in February this year proposed that a referendum for the election of MMDCEs should take place concurrently with the District Assembly elections next year. However, procedures leading up to the referendum have not been triggered, casting doubt over its possibility till 2021.
Happen, but we want it to happen quickly. If the president, as he always says, that he is a man in a hurry, we are saying to him, this is one policy that, when implemented, will hurry development along.
He implored the president to make the process all-inclusive.
If care is not taken, the implementation of this might be perceived as something that is only for MPP, and therefore becomes an MPP matter. If it's seen as only an MPP matter, this thing won't happen. So we want the involvement of other people, including the Progressive People's Party.
Let's stay on this issue further. I'm joined in studio by Ni Alote Buhammond. He's the chairman of the Progressive People's Party. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here.
And to your respected listeners.
Grateful for your time.
And viewers.
Certainly. Now, Mr. Buhammond, first of all, what exactly is the PPP unhappy about government's plan to ensure direct election of MMDCs in the year 2021? Why is the party unhappy?
Well, primarily we are disappointed that a position that has been taken by the president and the party enshrined in their manifesto is being shifted around. This has been a policy that civil society organizations and well-meaning Ghanaians have come to recognize as a deficit in our developmental agenda. It has been part of this winner-takes-all system that has been shut down by quite a number of reasonable Ghanaians. And we believe that the president meant well when he championed it during the electioneering campaign, encouraging voters to vote for him and his party so that when he became president, he could make it happen. And yes, after the election, he went on a thank you tour and thanked the people of Ghana for electing him as president and affirming that upon assumption of office in a few months, he was going to make sure that it happened. It didn't stop there. During the orientation to give the marching orders to his appointed chief executives, he again emphasized to them that it was going to be their last last hurrah, and that that election was going to take place in 2018. So we were astounded when the Deputy Minister of Local Government, who was present at the time when the President Akufo-Addo was admonishing the appointed chief executive to perform, to show performance so that they could be elected when the process was open for election. I was surprised that he now came up to oppose what the president has said, and that should be something that should be encouraged.
So your problem is the time that it took and looking at the president making these commitments and these promises to all.
Well, and the fact that electing the chief executive will bring rapid development to our district. Look at what's happening in our district. There's poverty, there are no jobs there, there's lack of water, people have to respond to nature's calls, you know, in the bushes and all of that, and that doesn't augur well for a country that led the independence fight from 1957.
Now, Mr. Buhamed, you would acknowledge that government, to enable this be carried out, government would have to amend the provisions of the Constitution before the election takes effect. Wouldn't you agree that it would then take time?
Well, how much time did it take for them to ratify the U.S.-Ghana agreement?
So how much time?
How much time?
So it's not a priority?
It is not a priority.
This is an entrenched provision. So you're saying it's not
all of it. Article 242 is not an entrenched position.
Requiring a referendum?
No, Article 242, 243 does not require a referendum.
So you're saying in effect
parliamentary approval, and they have the majority in parliament to approve it.
So it's not a priority?
It's not a priority. So they don't need to depend on Article 55 as the walking stick. No, we don't need Article 55 now. They can take their infinite time to have a referendum on Article 55 if they choose to. But Article 220, 242 and 243 can be done within a matter of months, just as they did the Ghana-US agreement, or even the fact that on their priority list was the additional regions. They've started the processes to get the additional regions that they could have if it was on their radar as a priority.
So implying that it's not a priority. Now, in terms of financial prudence, wouldn't you agree that it would be financially prudent to merge the referendum of the creation of the new regions to the election of the MMDCEs?
Well, if they had it on their radar as an important action to take, they would have, from January 2017, put the motion in place to get it ratified, amended, so that Article 242, 243 would have been amended by now to allow for the election of the chief executive on a non-party base, because it's Article 55 that requires the political parties to sponsor candidates for the elected positions. But without Article 55, they could have initiated the processes to get the position elected on a non-partisan basis, and it could have occurred in 2019. There's still time. There's still room. If by October they've completed the processes, next year, 2019, the election can take place with the election of chief executive on a non-political party lines.
So when you're resolving that it's not a priority to them?
Definitely yes.
Grateful for your time this afternoon. Middaylive Buhamed, chairman of the Progressive People's Party. It's still live here on Midday Live. Let's take a look at our MTN Vision reports this afternoon as our citizen journalist Al-Hassan Mohammed in the northern region reports on the filth that has engulfed a public lavatory at Nyankpala.
This is the compound of the Chief Palace in Nyankpala. No fence, no container, nothing has been doing about it for the past years. Just imagine. This is the only public toilet in front of the Chief Palace. Just look at the distance between the toilet and the Chief Palace there.
Al-Hassan Mohammed from Nyankpala in the northern region. Remember, you can also send your video report via WhatsApp number 055-1433-044. That's 055-1433-044. We've got some more news for you on Midday Live coming up in a few moments' time. Stay with us. Welcome back to Midday Live. In some business news this afternoon, the year-on-year producer price inflation rate has decreased from 3 to 3.7% in March from 5.5% in February of 2018. Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu explains the changes are due to a decrease in gold prices.
The Producer Price Inflation or Index PPI measures the average change over time in the prices received by domestic producers for the production of their goods and services. For March, the mining and quarrying subsector recorded the highest year-on-year producer price inflation rate of 5.8%. The manufacturing subsector also recorded producer price inflation of 4.2%. The utilities subsector recorded the lowest year-on-year producer inflation of negative 0.6%. Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu explains the general decline.
These numbers relate to a base period of September 2006, which is equated to 100. The revised index level for February 2018 is 581.4, and this translates into a yearly change rate of 5.5% and a monthly change rate of 0.1%.
For investors, producer price inflation is an indicator to predict consumer price inflation and extremely useful in analyzing potential sales and earnings. Most decreases incurred by producers may be passed on to retailers who in turn transfer to customers in terms of lower prices.
Credit unions have been implored to make credits available to small and medium enterprises to increase access to financial inclusion. At the 20th biannual conference of the Ghana Cooperative Credit Union in Kaswa, Executive Director of Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, Yao Jemfi, said cooperatives can complement government's efforts in promoting sustainable economic development.
Credit unions are self-regulated entities that operate under the Cooperative Act 252. As part of efforts to strengthen the financial system and to protect funds of members, a legislative instrument was passed. At the 20th biennial conference of the Ghana Cooperative Credit Unions Association, the Chief Executive Officer, Nana Kwesi Ejapong, said the Financial Association is adopting comprehensive approaches to promote financial inclusion.
If you enter any credit union premises, you should be able to do all your financial transactions, just as you can do this thing in other financial institutions.
Executive Director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, Yao Jemfi, also entreated credit unions to be abreast with the current trends in digital marketing.
Financial businesses are said that they are specialized business, and so you need special skills to run it. So all the good practices that financial services employ, they should also tap into it.
Other speakers at the forum stressed the need for credit unions and microfinance institutions to be strengthened.
And some more business news this afternoon. The Ghana Statistical Service, in collaboration with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, will conduct a census of agriculture from April 30 to mid-July. The Census of Agriculture will collect information from households and institutions and their involvement in agricultural activities in the country. According to a statement, information will be collected, which will assist policymakers identify, prepare and evaluate development projects aimed at enhancing agriculture in Ghana. Trained field personnel will visit all households and institutions across the country to identify for enumeration those engaged in the production of all types of agricultural activities. This will be the first agricultural census in 33 years. And that's all we've got for you from the world of business this afternoon. Visit our website, it's 3news.com, for some more business news. But on to some other stories. Now, residents of Malam and adjoining communities can now heave a sigh of relief, as all is set for work to begin on a 500-meter drainage system to address the recurrent flooding in the area. The project, which is scheduled to start on Monday, April 30, is expected to be completed within 50 days.
The 6 million Ghana cedi project, which will be done in 3 phases, is funded by the World Bank through the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. It also forms part of the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Sanitation and Water Project. A concrete drain will be constructed through the main Malam Junction Kaswa Highway to permanently halt the flow of water onto the road during downpours. The double-cell drain has a width of 7 meters and is 4 times bigger than the existing drain.
It comes to about 13, meter squared area that's it, to handle the flow. This one we are doing comes to around 70 meters squared to surface area to handle volume. So in comparatively, you are talking about 4 to 5 times increase in the capacity to handle water volumes.
The Malam Wager Road, which experiences heavy vehicular traffic, will be greatly affected as motorists will have to observe these diversions that will be created to allow the construction of the drain. But the Odoko Divisional MTTD Commander, DSP Michael Asedu, has assured the police will ensure traffic flow.
We shouldn't try to maneuver because we are going to have areas as we visited the sites where we are going to put the Dura blocks. They shouldn't try to maneuver their way through those blockades. And I'm assuring them that we will be on hand to manage this traffic effectively.
The Public Relations Officer for the Ghana Highway Authority, Diana Siade, assured the road will be restored to its original state when work is completed.
We were working hand in hand to draft the traffic management and also to be able to restore the road back to its normal state, if not better. So it's a collaborative effort to get this thing done.
According to the project coordinators of Gamma, residents who will be affected have been relocated and compensated.
The Minister for Zongo Development and Inner Cities, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, says government's agenda to transforming the country's Zongos is taking shape. Boniface Abubakar Sadiq revealed his ministry is implementing targeted programs in Zongos to improve on sanitation and livelihoods of the people there. He spoke earlier on New Day.
In the case of sanitation, I'm launching that beginning with Nima, and this will happen on Saturday.
Right.
And I'm not doing it alone because the ministry is supposed to collaborate with various ministries. Ministry of Sanitation, Ministry of Local Government,
right.
Ministry of Environment, National Security, Ministry of Interior,
right.
and other stakeholders and service providers will be part of the exercise come Saturday.
Well, what is this particular thing supposed to cure? Because I had a recent documentary, Slums in the City, that's what we called it. The Nima Gata project, we spoke about it the other time. You said, well, plans were far advanced. I have not seen any improvement there, and people continue to dump rubbish on the sides of the gutter. What are we supposed to be curing?
Yeah, first of all, don't misconstrue my rule. That particular drain is beyond the budget of my ministry.
Right.
It's supposed
I'm
to
not
be
asking for you to use your funds.
Yes. No, let me get it straight and let me get the, because people misconstrue. Because on several occasions people have gone on air to say that, look, that drain is there, you have not come to complete it, forgetting that that is not my rule.
I know it is not
I
your
have
role.
to collaborate with other ministries and pull them.
Honorable, your manifesto talked about supporting local enterprises within the zone.
This is what we want to do. You see, the fact that you said it doesn't mean that you take off. If you don't build a foundation, how do you take off? So what we want to do in the initial stages, we are carrying out a pilot program of the economic empowerment. We are mixing them, women and men, and we are connecting them to a bank that will be supporting with some funds. At the same time, we want to help you based on your background, the kind of business, or if you don't have a business, what you think you can do. We can help you build a business plan.
There's a fear, growing concern that these monies may end up with party faithfuls and people who are sympathetic towards the MPP, as we have seen in the past, not with MPP, but
well, in the past with some political. But let me tell you that I ruled out the youth employment, and in ruling out the youth employment, my colleagues in Parliament who attest to these facts, both MPP and DC. I don't engage people based on their political affiliations. I engage you based on your potential.
You're watching Midday Live, and in some news just in, the President has named Cynthia Nakoshi Lamte as Deputy Special Prosecutor. The name has been submitted to Parliament and the Speaker has since referred it to the Appointments Committee. Now that's the development right there. We'll be bringing you some more details on this particular story in our subsequent bulletins. Visit our website, it's 3news.com, where we've got more on this particular issue. We'll bring you more on Midday Live shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back to Midday Live, and some more news this afternoon. The Accra Human Rights Court has ordered the reinstatement of 2 officers of Ghana National Service who were sacked for getting pregnant. Now, joining us on the phone lines now is our court correspondent, Selam Amenya. Hello, Selam.
Hello, Natalie.
Yes, Selam. First of all, can you fill us in on what more has been said at court?
Well, when you look at Regulation 33(6) of the Conditions of Service of the Ghana National Fire Service, what it says is that female employee shall not be dismissed on the ground that she is pregnant, provided she served the first 3 years. So it means that within the first 3 years, when you get pregnant, because of this regulation, you need to be dismissed. And 2 of their female officers, Grace Fosu and Selma Hammond, were dismissed from the service in 2014. But they felt that this law was not helpful, so they went to Straj, and this is how come Straj took the Ghana National Fire Service to court. And when this matter was being, judgment was being delivered, the Human Rights Court, which was presided over by the Justice of the Court of Appeal, that is Justice Anthony Yeboah, he held that the decision by the Fire Service was discriminatory and a breach of the fundamental human rights of these 2 persons. So the court felt or was of the view that this particular regulation is discriminatory, unjustifiable, and illegitimate. And this is how come the court ordered that they should be reinstated into the fire service, and then payment of arrears of their salaries as well as benefits that had accrued during the period where they were home should be paid to them, and then another 50,000 cedis for the trauma and inevitable inconvenience, the wrongful dismissal matter, of course, to them. We are also awaiting a ruling by the court in the matter where the boss director has taken the executive secretary of COPEC to court for defamation. The court is set to rule on that one too, so we are waiting whatever the outcome will be.
So I'm grateful for the update there. That's Selam Amina, our court correspondent, who will get through to you in subsequent bulletins for that issue in court. That's Selam Amina on the Accra High Court, which has ordered the reinstatement of 2 officers of the Ghana National Fire Service who were sacked for getting pregnant. You're still live here. You're watching Midday News. We've got some...
Says he's determined to become Ghana's long-term boxing king as he prepares for a world title battle on Saturday against champion Hesse Magdaleno. Dogbe will fight for the World Boxing Organization Super Bantamweight belt and genuinely feels it will be just another step towards his ascent as one of the best in the business. Isaac Dogbe has called his date against Hesse Magdaleno the real deal, the biggest thing. On Saturday, he must prove he's the real deal too. The 23-year-old has 18 wins out of 18 fights and 12 knockouts, but his opponent is undefeated too, and the Ghanaian reckons the man who sparred with him at some point will be tough, but ultimately defeated.
I'm knocking down buildings, I'm knocking down, these guys and coconut trees and all sorts of things. So he should come. I mean, the more he talks, that's what's going to encourage us to, work harder and want to knock him out early in the round.
While many Ghanaians have fought for varying world titles, Dogbe's shot at the WBO title is as big as it gets and the closest to the levels that Azuma Nelson, Aikoti and later Joshua Clottey competed at. In that sense, Dogbe feels he is just not representing himself.
Everybody will say that America is the home of boxing, but you have to understand that Ghana too, we have had our fair share of boxing glory. It's now being revived once again. When we go out there to bring the title, that's what's going to add value to the nation of Ghana.
As we're still on boxing, and WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder has offered $50 million for a unification fight with WBO, IBF and WBA titles holder Anthony Joshua. American Wilder posted a video on Twitter which shows Joshua saying he would accept the fight for $50 million. Wilder said, quote, "All the money is in the bag, so I expect you to be a man of your word." Meanwhile, Wilder's manager Shelley Finkel confirmed to ESPN that an offer had been made. Unbeaten Joshua added the WBO belt to his collection after a unanimous points win over Joshua Parker in Cardiff on the 1st of April, while Wilder beat Luis Ortiz in his last fight in March. That's all for sports. My name is Yao Ofosulabi. There will be more sports news in our subsequent bulletins. We take a breather here on Midday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome back to Midday Live. On the international front this afternoon, French President Emmanuel Macron says he may have failed in efforts to persuade Donald Trump to retain an international nuclear deal with Iran. Mr. Macron made the remarks at the end of a 3-day visit to the United States.
Mr. Trump has until May 12 to decide on the deal, which aimed to prevent Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. President Trump has been a strong critic of the deal, calling it insane. Under the agreement reached by Mr. Trump's predecessor, Barack Obama, Iran agreed to mothball its nuclear program in return for an easing of economic sanctions. French President Emmanuel Macron had made changing the U.S. president's mind on Iran a top priority for his visit, but ended up admitting there was a big risk Mr. Trump would abandon the deal. He agreed with Mr. Trump that any deal should include a wider agreement on Iran's influence in the Middle East and should cover the country's nuclear activities longer term, as well as its ballistic missile program. He said he would work with Mr. Trump to build a new framework in the Middle East and especially in Syria.
Our website 3news.com for some more international news. Up next is some in entertainment news this afternoon, the anticipation is high ahead of the VGMA Celebration Jam. Some music enthusiasts have been sharing their expectations.
It's time to shut down the 19th Vodafone Ghana Music Awards.
An impressive list of showstoppers have been lined up to entertain music enthusiasts come April 28. The most decorated musician at the VGMAs, Sarkodie, will lead the pack for the rappers. Sax's Music signed rapper Strongman and B Fobona are also on the bill. Barsaba hitmaker Stonebwoy and his godfather Samini will also share the stage. Link's entertainment trio, Miss V, Kwame Eugene and Kitty will join performers like Curl Songs and Joyce Blessing to make the night a memorable one. There is one big surprise to watch out for. The VGMA Celebration Jam will be live on TV3 and all other Media General platforms.
Well, certainly promises to be an exciting one there. In some more entertainment news this afternoon, Ghana joins the rest of the world to commemorate World Intellectual Property Day. The day is set aside to create awareness about intellectual property rights, patents, trademarks and copyright play in encouraging innovation and creativity. Chairman of the Ghana Music Rights Organization, that's GAMRO, Rex Somar, joins us on the phone lines now to talk about creators of artistic pieces and copyrights in the country. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, music creators and artists continue to complain and express worry about their works being downloaded and sold illegally by non-creators. How impactful of a role does patenting play in our local creative industry?
Thank you very much. Patenting is very, very important because everything that comes out of the mind that we call intellectual property, whether being a literary work or artistic work or choreography or painting or photography, whatever, that has creativity attached to it, including even software development and all that, needs to be patented. It's very important so that at least we are in a global village. So when you patent it properly and then it gets its place somewhere outside your country, you're protected.
You talk about its relevance, and its relevance is clear globally. However, locally, we don't see its impact too greatly in the creative industry. What steps has GAMRO put in place to ensure that creatives of these artistic pieces actually enjoy the fruit of their labor?
Thank you very much. GAMRO's role is to deal with only music. We have other institutions that deals with audiovisual works, literary works, and then in fact, patent is also dealt with at the Registrar General Department, but together they are all copyrighted works. So now let me come back home. With GAMRO, what we're doing is we are signing a reciprocal agreement with our sister organizations around the globe, so that as we protect their works in Ghana, they also protect Ghanaian creative works in their respective country. So that is what we are doing currently.
Now, this year's campaign is focused on celebrating, it says, the brilliance, ingenuity, the curiosity and the courage of women specifically who are driving the change and shaping the future in this industry. How exactly is GAMRO going to be celebrating women specifically in the creative industry?
It is true. I mean, women in the creative industry, one way or the other, has been marginalized. So we have planned some forums, and that we call it Right Owners Forum. So this year we're going to do one, and then we are combining it with women who are also in the creative industry, i.e. music. You know, so to encourage them to continue, because women have a lot of difficulties when they get into the creative industry, especially music, because I'll use Ebony as an example. People do not understand our business, so when women come in, everybody says all manner of things, and thinking that they don't deserve to do one thing or the other. So we will use that platform to encourage women, more women, to come into the industry in terms of creativity, writing, arrangement, production, and all that.
Mr. Rex Omar, grateful for your time this afternoon. He's the chairman of the Ghana Music Rights Organization. We'll be looking forward to marking the day later in the month. Now, members of Parliament reconvene to consider and approve African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Also, residents of Malama and adjoining communities heave sigh of relief as work begins on 500-meter drainage system to address recurrent flooding. And on the foreign front this afternoon, we brought you French President Emmanuel Macron, who said he may have failed in efforts to persuade Donald Trump to retain an international nuclear deal with Iran. We've got more news on our website. Visit 3news.com. Thanks so much for watching Midday Live this afternoon. From the News Hub here at Adisawe Kanda, I'm Natalie Fort. Enjoy the rest of your day.